Chapter 1, Tiger's Den. They called her Tiger, not because she was fierce, though she was, but because that was the name printed on her birth certificate, bold as a warning label. Growing up in her den meant living between lullaby and lightning. One minute she was soft arms and warm laughter. The next, she was a door slammed so hard the pictures rattled. I remember the good nights first. I have to. Christmas lights blinking like patient heartbeats. Aunties in clouded perfume. Uncles telling stories that started funny and ended with a siren. 20 cousins piling onto a single couch that groaned like it was alive. My dad at the stove in a t-shirt, forearms the color of work, stirring a pot like it could keep us all together. For a second, I believed it might. The early 90s were loud. Radios, arguments, tires on wet streets, and under it all, the hum. Coke in somebody's pocket, weed in somebody's glove box, whiskey in somebody's breath. It wasn't scandal, it was scenery. You didn't point it out any more than you pointed out the sky. When they split, it was less like a break and more like somebody quietly moved a wall in the night. One day my dad's coffee cup was on the counter, the next day it was a ring of dust. Grown folks told me things with their mouths that their eyes didn't believe. It's for the best, they're figuring it out. You're a strong boy. That last one was the worst. Strong is what people call kids they're about to abandon to their own feelings. I can still see the door. There's a window in it, a square that makes people look fishbowl small. I'm inside a stranger's house. I'm not allowed to call a stranger's house. My mother is whispering, voice tight like a knot. Don't open it. Don't let him in. And there's my father, cheeks wet, fists not banging but pleading. He's not a monster that day. He's somebody's boy who lost his keys to his own life. He looks at me like I'm the last bridge left standing. My hand finds the lock. My mother's breath is hot in my ear. I do not turn it. That's how a splinter moves in, quiet, invisible, forever. After that, the world smelled like smoke, even before it burned. On the day it did, I was mad about cousins I couldn't go see. Matches are magic to a child who's never been allowed to make anything. I touched flame to the stringy edge of my mattress and watched the orange eat its way upward, slow, curious, almost kind. Then it wasn't slow. It ran. Fire doesn't walk, it chooses you at a sprint. I fetched a cup of water like a cartoon, came back to a bedroom-sized sun. I shut the door. I sat on the floor. I turned on the TV and pretended to learn something from a blue dog who solved clues. Mom saw the smoke slip under the door before I saw it in the mirror of her eyes. She grabbed us, half-shoed, bare-kneed, her voice a siren the firefighters could hear from 2 blocks out. Winter bit my ears while our whole life hissed and popped like it was frying itself in a pan. Somebody wrapped me in a Red Cross blanket and told me I was brave. I wanted to ask them if brave people do stupid things because they're scared of being hit. We floated after that, houses like islands, relatives like weather. Some nights we slept, some nights we waited to. Parks, church basements. A graveyard one time, iron fence cold through my jacket as I leaned back and watched my breath make ghosts. The lit windows of other people's kitchens were a kind of TV I never turned off. It was always the same show. A dad kissing a forehead, a mom reaching for a dish towel, nobody whisper fighting behind a bedroom door. Then there was Ron. Apartments across from the hospital always smell like bleach and something you can't name. His place had walls that held and heat that didn't argue. For a minute, I mistook not falling apart for home. Tiger laughed louder there, the laughs that started in her belly and made her eyes water. But alcohol is a generous liar. It gives you the feeling first and sends the bill during dessert. Fights grew teeth. Police radios crackled our last names like they were reading from a ruined prayer list. I learned how to count exits without looking. Here's the part where I tell you I was a good kid, and you try to believe me. I was, and I wasn't. I was the kind of kid who shoveled sidewalks for cash, and the kind who watched the mailman drop a box on a porch and didn't feel bad until later. I ran it home like a trophy. Inside, a brand new VCR, metal face shining like it knew how to watch us instead of the other way around. My mom dialed a number with the speed of someone who's done the math already. Pee-wee, you got bud? I got something better than cash. Night came gentle. Not all bad beginnings arrive with thunder. We were on the couch. Ron's laughter was a room away or a mile, depending on how you measured distance in those days. Mom sparked up. The light licked her cheekbones and made her look like the girl she'd been before the city learned her growl. She took a hit, held it, smiled the way you smile when something familiar finally works. Then she did something I'll spend the rest of my pages trying to forgive. She turned, hand out, passing me the warm little ember between her fingers like it was a candle at a vigil we didn't know we were holding for my childhood. I shouldn't, I said, because that's what boys say when there's still time to be saved. Baby, she said, and her voice was Sunday soft, we deserve a little peace. I took it. The first breath wasn't smoke. It was quiet. The kind I'd never met. The kind that made the pictures on the wall stop shivering. The air got thick like a blanket and thin like forgiveness at the same time. My chest loosened. Fear backed out of the room on tiptoe. Mom watched me, and we both laughed. Not because anything was funny, but because the laughing kept us from crying in the middle of the only good moment we'd had in weeks. She laughed so hard she had to cross her legs. I laughed because she did. For 5 minutes, we were just people, not headlines. That's how the hook enters, velvet first, barb after. If you want the honest version, here it is. It worked. It worked so well, I thought it was love. It braided me to my mother and cut me from myself in the same motion. It promised me a padded room inside my own skull where sirens couldn't call my name and doors didn't require choosing. I didn't know yet that every quiet has a collector who shows up later with interest. People ask me about my father then. Where was he? Why didn't he smash that door, sprint through that smoke, swat that ember from my hand? I used to answer with silence or rage, depending on the hour. Now I tell the truer thing. He was somewhere else, trying to sweat poison out of his hope, trying to be the kind of clean a court believes, the kind of steady a judge signs off on. He was running uphill through his own storm, with the thought of us like a medal he hadn't earned yet. I didn't know that. I only knew the space he left, and spaces are loud. The joint went out. The night didn't. I lay there with the ceiling turning slow as a prayer wheel and thought, so this is how it feels when the world finally lets go of your throat. I didn't have the word addiction. I had a body that, for once, wasn't a locked room. I had a mother who looked happy to be next to me. I had a new kind of quiet that made promises I couldn't hear because I was already saying yes. That's the moment the line gets drawn. You can't see it, but you feel your foot cross. By morning, the den was the den again. Arguing, bottles, the gravity of the wrong kind of love. But something had changed that didn't unchange. A door had opened inside me that would take years to find the handle for. Her name was Tiger. Mine was boy who breathed smoke and called it air. This is where the map turns from childhood to chase. This is where I stop being only a kid and start being a kid who knows a shortcut. Turn the page.